You're listening to TurkishSoccer.com's Turkish Football Podcast. Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmet Turgut. Next 15 minutes, we'll talk about what happened in the Week 14, and we'll also preview upcoming matches in the Week 15. Well, the gap is opening on top of the Turkish Super League. While Trabzonspor winning their matches at home and away, and we have big guns from Istanbul losing points or point. This weekend, in the Week 14, while Trabzonspor won their match, Galatasaray and Fenerbahce draw, and Besiktas lost their match. It was a disaster, a score for Besiktas. We'll talk about all those. We'll give you insight information, what's going on in the Turkish Super League. But I could tell you one thing. Pretty much right now, we're going into the Week 15 in the Turkish Super League. When the gap is this wide between the big guns of Istanbul in the Turkish Super League and Trabzonspor, it is going to be very tough to catch Trabzonspor because they sit on top of the Turkish Super League at the end of Week 14 with 36 points. The closest team there are two teams that closest to Trabzonspor. They are from Anatolia, Konyaspor and Hatayspor. So they're at the 26 point. There's a 10-point gap between those two teams with Trabzonspor. Speaking of big guns of Istanbul, the big three, Fenerbahce is with 24 points. They're back 12 points. Galatasaray back of Trabzonspor 14 points. And guess what? Besiktas 16 points behind first place team Trabzonspor. And we're in the Week 14. We will be playing Week 15 matches starting this Friday. That's a huge gap for the big guns. If they don't shape up, it's going to be very tough to catch Trabzonspor at this point. We don't know what Hatayspor and Konyaspor will do because they did not do good in the Week 14. When I get the scores, I will tell you the scores. But I can tell you one thing. The biggest movers of the Super League, other than Trabzonspor, let's face it, Trabzonspor is still unbeatable in the Turkish Super League. They haven't lost any match this season in the week after Week 14 was done. So we have Başakşehir and Adana Demirspor. They're really moving up the ladder. Başakşehir moved from 7th place to 6th place, even though they had a draw this past weekend. And another team that Adana Demirspor, I just mentioned to you, that they were in the 10th place, and they moved up to 9th place. They're evened up with the points with Besiktas. Besiktas fell down to 10th place. Galatasaray is in 8th place, and Fenerbahce is in 4th place. So, overall, looking at this Trabzonspor, they are for real. And it is going, like I said, it is going to be very tough to close this gap between Trabzonspor and Besiktas, Galatasaray, and Fenerbahce. Unless Trabzonspor lose some matches in the coming weeks, they might have a chance to catch them up. But right now, the way it's going, and the way that Galatasaray, Besiktas, and Fenerbahce playing, it's not going to be very easy for them. As I forgot to mention to you guys on my last podcast, Fatih Terim was suspended by Turkish Football Federation disciplinary committee for 6 matches. This past weekend, Fatih Terim was not on the sideline, so he has 5 more games he has to serve. He will not be with the team on the sideline. So this is a huge thing for Galatasaray team. Galatasaray doing very good in the Europa League matches, but somehow they're not playing the same football in the Turkish Super League. That goes the same way with Fenerbahce and Besiktas. Even though they're not doing good, and Fenerbahce is, as I mentioned to you in my last podcast, they're out of the Europa League. They're going to be in the Conference League in the competition. Besiktas is already out of the Champions League. So these teams that plays in the European competitions, somehow the rotations are killing their play style when they play in the Turkish Super League. This goes same way to Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, and Besiktas. The rotations that they're doing are not working for these clubs. I will talk about when I come to these matches. So week 14 started on Friday. There were 2 matches, and both of the matches ended with a draw. Adana Demirspor at home tied with Kasımpaşa 0-0, and Başakşehir. This time they did not win at home, and after winning 5 matches under Emre Belözoğlu, they tied against İzmir's Altay team. That was a 0-0 scoreless match also. On Saturday, there were 3 matches, and Antalya and Alanya, Antalyaspor, surprisingly, the Antalyaspor, as you know, coached by Nuri Şahin, and beat Alanyaspor 3-0. This was probably the biggest upset of the weekend. In Rizespor beat Kayserispor 1-0, and Besiktas on Saturday at home lost to Giresunspor. Remember, Giresunspor one time were pointless, and they were in the bottom of the barrel. Guess what? Giresunspor, after this win, they have 16 points now. And Besiktas stayed at 20 points. So if Besiktas doesn't win matches coming up weekend, and they're going to be in very trouble, because if you look at the bottom and mid-level and bottom teams, they're very close to each other. The way they lost this match, again, I'm going to say this every match in every weekend, the teams are complaining about the Turkish referees. Turkish referees still making huge mistakes. That's got to stop. So, but that was not the case with, that was not only the reason why Besiktas lost. Besiktas lost because of poor goalkeeping, and also rotation of what Sergen Yalçın did with the team, and Giresunspor came to win this match. And one thing I want to mention, the 4th goal, when a goalkeeper went down in the 18-yard line with a knee injury, there was no way, it was unsportsmanlike conduct to score a goal on a goalie who's down with an injury on an empty net. So Giresunspor made a huge mistake. A player, whoever gave that pass to that goal scorer, made a huge mistake. If he didn't score that goal, kick the ball out, he would be the talk of the town, and it would probably made international news if he didn't score that 4th goal. So Giresunspor missed a big, huge chance to become very talkative of the world soccer. They did not do that. They didn't need to score that goal, the fourth goal, when the goalkeeper was down. So overall, Besiktas did not look good at all. They did not look good at all, as I'm going to say that. So Besiktas losing at home against Giresunspor 4-0. On Sunday, there were 4 matches. Gaziantep at home beat Konyaspor 3-2. Fatih Karagümrük at home lost the first place team, Trabzonspor 2-0. And Trabzonspor looking good, even though their first goal was called back from, actually, it was a penalty kick. The referee didn't call it. The VAR system came to the scene and gave penalty to Trabzonspor. Even though that was the goal, but Trabzonspor looked much better than Karagümrük, Fatih Karagümrük. That's why they won that match 2-0. Trabzonspor, probably only 5 teams right now in the whole Europe leagues. They're the 5th team who has not lost a match yet this season. And also, Sunday, Sivasspor was at home, and this was surprising score too. And they trashed Hatayspor 4-0. And Yeni Malatya at home, as I mentioned to you a little while ago, tied with Galatasaray. Now, what we saw Galatasaray earlier in the week on Thursday against Marseille, we had fantastic Galatasaray team playing football. But that football team, Galatasaray, did not, because of the rotations. I don't know what these coaches think. I'm not going to get into their business. But you cannot have 3 or 4 players that you need on that pitch. You cannot have them rotate. You have to play them. That's what happened. Galatasaray looked very bad against Yeni Malatyaspor, and Yeni Malatyaspor tied with Galatasaray at home. On Monday, just today, Göztepe was winning 1-0, and the goal actually was a huge mistake by Mesut Özil. Tried to pass it to his defender, and then Göztepe scored a goal. And then Fenerbahce came back, tied the match, and the score ended 1-1. After this match, I think Fenerbahce coach Pereira is under the gun right now. As we speak, or maybe later on today, or on Tuesday, Wednesday, you might see Pereira sacked by Fenerbahce President Ali Koç, because Fenerbahce fans are very mad the way that, same thing with rotation, as I mentioned to you in the beginning of the program. These 3 big teams, they are doing the rotation wrongly, because it is not, how could you play Ferdi Kadıoğlu on a right fullback when he is a midfielder? And a lot of mistakes on this team with Pereira. And that's why these 3 teams right now, the way they're doing in the Super League, their games, they're not functioning at all. So I think I kept this portion very long, this podcast. Time is almost up. I will come back, do a brand new podcast for you. We'll talk about week 15, and we'll talk about what's going on. But this is it for me in this podcast. We'll talk about next time when I come back, do a new podcast. We'll give you a preview of week 15. Thanks for listening. Listen to my podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you and goodbye.